Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Pravachana Malika. I would request everybody to mute if you're not talking, so that way we have all the focus on the speaker. And today we're so fortunate to meet virtually. In this pandemic, we have really crossed borders of countries, and we're able to have audience all across the world. And it's my pleasure today to invite my dear friend and neighbor. I'm inspired by him every day, Anand Chukalingam, and he's going to talk to us on a very, very important topic, which is critical to all of us, personally, professionally, spiritually. And he's touching all of these important topics through his talk on hunger, fasting, and consciousness, Indian spirituality in heart failure management. So he brings enormous knowledge from his profession of cardiology, and his really the wonderful research, very hard research. I know he goes early in the morning and gets us these, connections of information that's so well messaged. And we're fortunate that he has put all those messages into a very wonderful book called Seeking Hunger, which is in Amazon. You can see the link I have put here. And he's going to give us an excerpt of the book and more. And we are thrilled to have him as our keynote speaker in the third Pravachana Malika. We started this in January, and we are having the third in March with Anand being our keynote speaker. So I welcome you all, and we have a very wonderful program. We'll have our Kusumanjali, Veda Kusumanjali by students. I will request all the Vedajanic students to, once I finish my introduction, to start, and then my father will introduce, and then we'll have a keynote talk. And we have another friend and student of the Kendra, Kopichen, who will be providing some concluding remarks on the talk. And we'll have Rita Matthew providing the vote of thanks. So yeah, I once again request anybody who's not talking to kindly mute, so we can focus on the speaker. So with that, I would welcome the students of the Kendra to start the Veda Kusumanjali. So then you can lead, and then we can all follow.
Shall I? Yeah. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Harihi Om. Om Bhadram Karne Vishrunuyama Devaha. Bhadram Pasye Makshabhiryajatraha. Sthirairangai Istuštuvagam Sastanubihi. Vyashema Devahi Tayyadayuhu. Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha. Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha. Swasti nastarksho arishtanemihi. Swasti no brihaspati'r dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Agnenaya Supatharaye Asman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidwan Yuyodyasmat Juhuranameno Bhuyishtam Te Nama Uktim Vidhema. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om A Brahman Brahmano Brahma Varchasi Jayatam. A Rashtre Rajanyaha Shura Ishavyoti Vyadhi Maharatho Jayatam. Dogri Dhenur Vodhanadvan Ashus Saptihi. Purandhiryosha Jishno Ratheshtaha. Sabhe yo yuva asya yajamanasya viro jayatam. Nikame nikamena parjanyo varshatu na palavatyo na oshadhayaha. पच्यन्तां योगक्षेमो न कल्पेताम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणमे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः
ते मयि सन्तो ते मयि सन्तो
ॐ
ॐ
शान्ति
शान्ति
शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ
ॐ तत्सत्
अन्नं न निन्द्यात् तत्व्रतं प्राणो वा अन्नं शरीरमन्नादम् प्राणे शरीरं प्रतिष्ठितम् शरीरे प्राणः प्रतिष्ठितः तदेतदन्नमन्ये प्रतिष्ठितम् तयये तदन्नमन्ये प्रतिष्ठितम्
अन्नवानन्नादो भवति महान् भवति प्रजया पशुभिः ब्रह्मवर्चसेन
तद्रथम् आपो वा अन्नम् अप्सुज्योतिरन्नाधम् ज्योतिष्यापप्रतिष्ठिताः तदेतदन्नमन्ये प्रतिष्ठितम् तयये तदन्नमन्ये प्रतिष्ठितं वेद प्रतिष्ठति अन्नवानन्नाथो भवति महान् भवति प्रजया पशुभिः ब्रह्मवर्चसेन महान् कीर्त्या अन्नं बहुपर्वेत तद्व्रतम् दिवि वा अन्नम् आकाशोन्नादः दिव्यामाकाशप्रतिष्ठितः आकाशे पृथिवी प्रतिष्ठिता तदेतदन्नमन्ये प्रतिष्ठितम् तयये तदन्नमन्ये प्रतिष्ठितं वेद प्रतिष्ठति अन्नमानन्नाथो भवति महान् भवति प्रजया पशुभिः ब्रह्मवर्चसेन महान् कीर्त्या ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ तत्सत्
Thank you very much. Now, Prasad.
Yeah, so I think we can talk about Dhanvantri. We have the picture of Dhanvantri in the flyer, and Anand in some way represents Dhanvantri today for us. So, Nana, you want to give the significance of Dhanvantri?
Yeah. Now, I introduce and just talk about, because Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Om Amrutakalashahastaya Sri Dhanvantaraye Namaha. Today we have got a very important program, and the keynote is by our Dr. Anand Chokkalingam. His biodata runs long, but most important is a professor of cardiology at the University of Missouri, and not only in the hospital confined to the clinic and all that, he is also a great spiritualist, a yoga practitioner who has got number of things, because heart is a very important part in the body, and that's why even Paramatma has taken his seat in heart of all people. See, Hrudaye Tishtati Paramatma, and therefore he is trying to tell us the ways and means how best we can manage our heart, so that to manage the heart we require hunger. Then when we are able to attend to that thinking also keeps the destiny as the destiny of thinking. And all through the time we have got the health management of the heart, so that whatever stipulated period of life has been given to us, that would be fruitful and substantial and all that. And so He has been doing number of workshops everywhere, and there are thousands of followers to him and who take his counsel online also. But it is very important because for heart also the food is important. I have seen in some cardiologist clinics that they say eat less, live more, because if you give more load for the heart, it will cry. When it cries, we are always having a problem. Today, at Dhanvantari, we have projected, as a Prasad has asked, when gods and demons wanted not to die at all. So they planned, and the project manager was Mahavishnu. He said, go and churn the ocean. And the Vasuki was the rope, and Mandara was the mountain, and they churned the ocean. But ultimately, first of all, there came a venom, Kalakuta Visham. But Shiva was brave, and he came and drank that. He became Nilakantha because of that. And after all, several gifts, then Mahavishnu himself manifested as Dhanvantari, Amrita Kalasha, both hands. He had
Okay, thank you.
Amrita Kalashas, and he came out.
Bye.
And then the Rakshasas are always quick, therefore, what the Rakshasas they did, they simply snatched away the Amrita Kalasha. They wanted that the Rakshasas should be deprived of that. But some of the story goes like that. Why Dhanvantari came? Because in the creation, Brahmadeva, when he was asked to create, he created all diseases, negativity, penury, etc., etc. All evil things he created for a long time. Therefore, before good came into being, too much of evil was there present already. Later on, Brahmadeva realized, and he created gods and other positive people. Anyway, so here Dhanvantari is a doctor, is a healer, is a spiritualist, and all that. That's why we call Ayurveda. So this Dhanvantari today we are having, and again we recited today Annasuktam because the Annam is the root. Adyata iti Annam. Another meaning, another definition that Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad gives is Adyate Atticha Bhutani. So the Annam is being consumed by all living beings, and that Annam consumed will consume all living beings. Therefore, let us not think that Annam eating is a wonderful joy. We should be very judicious and careful and selective in our own food. Therefore, our Rishis have given a caution, no doubt. It is called Bhojanam. Bhojanam means much enjoyable. And though what is enjoyable, you should be also careful about it. Adyate is eating, and that Annam also will eat us. That's why we have to be very important. And today we have got a beautiful topic. Hunger is the basic, the foundation. And that is the health. Hunger is also a good health. But hunger is a great pain also. It is more painful than the cancer pain or any other pain. So that's why Shankaracharya says, Chud badha pariharyatam vikshaushadham bhujyatam. So here our Anand comes into picture, vikshaushadham bhujyata. That is, food as a medicine you should take. If you take food as a medicine, then you are safe and healthy. If you take medicine as a food, you are hopeless and you cannot exist. That's what all people say. That's why today we will just listen more to our Dr. Chikkalingam, Anand Chikkalingam Garu, and he has got so much with him. But I think we are trying to give him maximum time possible. If not, if necessary, another installment we can also invite him. But let us enjoy the first installment of these important points. Which he has written a book also recently. I hope you will show the version of that book for us so that people can take hold of that understanding, because he has covered in that most important aspect, hunger, thinking, destiny, and heart. Thank you very much, Dr. Anand. You are welcome to speak.
Mr. Prabhakar, I am Dr. Chokkalingam from Chennai.
Oh, namaste.
Namaste. I am really very happy to see all my brothers and sisters. And Anand talk, I am really equally anxious to hear him. I don't know whether I will be continuing because I got a lot of commitments. I made it to come and be a good appearance. And for my all my friends, I want to tell you what Anand is going to concentrate and what our Prabhagar or Prasad has been telling, not to give the treatment for heart ailments. If you follow everything, your heart will be healthy for 100 years. You don't need Chokalingam, Anand, or anyone for the treatment. Our ancestors put it very clearly. Keep your heart healthy beyond 100 years. That's what he's going to put. And I'm really happy and you involved Anand Chokalingam professor for this one. Make the society healthy way. There is no two opinion about it. So any good doctor is not to treat the disease. We must help the society to prevent any ailments, especially heart ailments, because number one killer disease now. So in that way, I'm so happy, Prabhagar, Prasad. I want to tell all my friends how this one is being transmitted in generations. Prasad Kalyam, Prabhagar, Prasad, and even his son, Prasad's son is also involved. This is the way it must go on in generations to create a very healthy society among us. Anyway, thanks a lot. Anyway, after some time, please, Anand, I'm very anxious. I don't know how long I can. I'm equally interested. Anand was my son, and I was his professor, Prabhagar. Now I have become his student to learn from my son as my professor, and he's giving a lot of insights to how one should be. I really appreciate for everyone. Thanks a lot, Prabhagar, Prasad. Best wishes, Anand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
sir.
Uncle. Thank you so much. We're so happy to see you, hear from you.
You have honored our request and obliged us. Your appearance itself is grand and great and really great. Thank you very much. We see you completely sometime whenever you are convenient. Thank you.
Definitely. I'll make it on Sunday. I will let you know once I fix the date of it.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Anand, the stage is yours. So please go ahead.
Thanks so much for giving me this opportunity, Uncle and Prasad. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here in this learned audience to share my work in the last few years in this health through prevention methods. Let me share my slides.
Every comment there.
Do you see my slides here, Prasad?
No, it's not visible.
Yeah.
Can we request everyone to mute because we are hearing some.
Yeah, I have muted people. So try again. I think if you bring the slide, put it in presentation mode, we'll see it full screen.
Now do you see it?
I see your desktop. So if you put it in presentation, yes. If you go down and click present, yes. Wonderful. We're seeing, yeah, now you're good. Please go ahead.
Thanks again. We'll go ahead and get started. Prasad said I inspire him, but the first time I met Prasad, I realized he's one of the most prolific researchers here at MU in computer science. That plus he takes so much care for his children. He spends so much time there, and then he does so much work for Indian spiritual understanding. And he plays music. So he has several careers. I'm only mentioning a few. Prasad inspires us. And then we realized when we saw Prasad's dad in Colombia that inspiration comes from his father. Now his both children are so amazing, Anish and Ayush. So we'll go ahead and get started. Hunger, fasting, and consciousness. How Indian spirituality is helping in our current cardiac care. My disclosures are the website, High Life Journey, which is a non-profit aiming at helping people recognize the value of these simple holistic methods to get themselves taken care of in a healthier way. And Seeking Hunger is a first of several books that we hope to write that again emphasize for children, college students, healthy adults, and heart patients how health can be preserved. So I first want to thank a whole bunch of people who have helped me in these last 5 to 10 years in this effort. And Tyaga, my very good friend of over 20 years, is in Coimbatore, and through his company and his resources, he's helping us keep this website going at zero cost for anybody to learn about our programs. And we have so many people in psychology, exercise physiology, cardiology, my trainees in medicine, cardiology, and collaborators from Siddha who have helped us understand how we can move this science forward. I want to share a recent loss which happened 2 weeks ago. One of my collaborators in Siddha, Dr. Gunasegaran, is no more. He passed away 2 weeks ago. His story is amazing. His entire life, he is dedicated to helping the poor with the traditional Indian Siddha medical methods, and he has his own hospital. His children are also practicing these methods, and his niece is one of our researchers at MU. Through her, I met him only a few months ago, but he has changed my way of thinking about Siddha traditions. I wish I had met him 10 years ago. And at night, 12 o'clock, his time, he will connect with me because that's when he comes home from taking care of patients. So he's not with us anymore. So I wanted to spend 5 seconds in just a memory so that his family can recognize the value he has added to our work. Today we'll talk about heart disease, hunger, what we mean by fasting, Siddha consciousness, and how all this comes together in heartful living. If you look at heart disease, it is the #1 killer. It's right on top of every killer in 1990. But if you look at dementia, it was #10 disease. Diabetes was #15. Fast forward to 2017. In few decades, heart disease still remains #1, but dementia has climbed to #5. Diabetes is at #9. The disease I fear the most is dementia because people are alive, ambulant, but they cannot remember anything. So I feel it's so challenging to cope with dementia, and it's only becoming more and more of a problem. Do we have some solutions for heart disease, for dementia, for diabetes? I feel we have some solutions. My field is cardiology. Today's discussion is heart failure. From 1960 onwards, it's significantly increased for 100,000 people. But if you see, that curve is even more than we predicted. That is, the curve is expected to increase because people are living longer. When people live longer, the risk of heart failure goes up. But the increase is even more than we predicted. That's what I want to emphasize here. Out of all people who lose their lives, 1 in 3 is related to heart disease. So it is the #1 killer in US, costing over $500 billion. It's going to cross over $1 trillion in the next 15 years. Yet 8 or 9 out of 10 of these patients can be saved, their health improved by very simple lifestyle measures. Heart failure means the heart becomes bigger, it's not working effectively, the lungs are filled with fluid, people cannot breathe, cannot do things they want to do, cannot even walk, just sitting down, they are short of breath as if they run a marathon, the feet are swollen, and they keep coming back again and again with these problems. This is how, as a cardiologist, I look at heart failure. It's like the heart is trying to go, but it's overfilled and it's overloaded. And the tank is empty. There is no fuel to go forward. And the biggest challenge, I would think, is that the road ahead is still not clear. So all these 3 challenges, when they happen at the same time, that is what our patients with heart failure are facing every day. This is one example of a patient I saw this week. She is 70 years old and she has fast heartbeat and stress and depression. Kidneys are not working well. On top of all this, she's extremely overweight, obese. If you look at how her weight has been, this is the graph from the medical records, it goes up and down. But from 2020 to 21, in the last 12 months, the red lines here show how many times she has needed to come into the hospital. 15 times she has been hospitalized. And there is no end for the trouble that she is facing. 2 days ago, when we tried to discharge her home, she says, "Doc, even if you discharge me, within few days, I may be back in the hospital." This is my first time interacting with her. I've given her our advanced, intensive, whatever word we use for the holistic methods, the heartful living methods. And she says, "I'm going to try your method because it may help me breathe better." That's where we come in. So in the hospital, 4% people lose their lives. Within 3 months, 10%. Within 1 year, a third. And within 5 years, majority of our heart failure patients are now more with us. That's such a serious disease. So that is what is heart failure. Now, what is this hunger that we talk about? This is very, very good news. Compared to 1990, in the advanced countries, poverty is still coming down. But in Asia, India, and other countries in South Asia, there is a significant decline in poverty over the last few decades. Same thing in East Asia and Pacific countries also. So this is very welcome trend. Over the last few decades, the world is becoming wealthier, at least sufficiently wealthy to get food. This is happening in the Western world. In the last few decades, the size of fast food serving has gone up dramatically. People are still the same human beings, but the portion of soda has gone up so big, and the burger and the fries, all these things that people have in one meal has suddenly gone up so much in the last few decades. So this I want you to be cognizant of, because even in India, we are seeing so many people giving up Indian traditional food and taking up Western fast food as more fancy and more fun. But this is what is going on in the Western world. In 1960, obesity was at 10% in the United States. Fast forward 3, 4, 5 decades, it's only continued to climb. Now, already in 2020, it is at 40% obesity. If you look at obesity and overweight, people who have any excess weight in their body, it's at more than 70, 75%. So majority of the US population has weight as a problem. This is a paper that is going to be published next week. It is very controversial because it talks about diabetes and insulin resistance. And my mentor and guide, Dr. Pandian, is joined us today. So he's the inspiration. And what we find is that insulin resistance was a problem in the 1930s, 1940s because of the type of insulin that we were able to produce for our diabetic patients. And that has actually come down dramatically. That's the blue line, the true insulin resistance. Then what is it that we are seeing as insulin resistance? The green line that I'm showing here is actually the excess weight and obesity and sedentary lifestyle that is now interpreted as insulin resistance. It is not a true disease. It is just that people fail to stay active like the body is designed to be, and that gets them in trouble. So this is a new problem only in the last few decades, and that seems to correlate very much with this obesity epidemic that the world is experiencing now. What about the countries of the world? If you look at Japan and Korea, they are the lowest number of obesity at less than 5%. India is not in this picture, but overall India is at about 10%. Most of the European countries are at 18, 20%. US, unfortunately, the United States is at over 30, 35% obesity already. So it is head and shoulders above the rest of the developing and developed world. What about urban India? Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi. Unfortunately, if you look at a population in urban India, we are already dealing with obesity at US levels. We don't have the resources that US has, but we are dealing with obesity epidemic already, just as we are trying to come out of poverty. So this is the real challenge. When we say obesity, what do we mean by it? The simplest way to look at it is body mass index, which is weight divided by height. And what we get is normal BMI of less than 25, overweight is less than 30, obesity is anybody more than 30. But for India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, the South Asian countries, the risk of heart problems is higher. We don't know the exact reasons, but even with a BMI of 24, we are already facing those health problems with the heart disease. So people are obese if you have a BMI more than 25, if you are of Indian origin. You don't have to live in India. You can live in the US or Canada. But if you have Indian or Pakistani or Sri Lankan gene, you're obese if your BMI is more than 25. This is extremely concerning because so many of our people think they are healthy, but they're already facing this problem. Waist circumference, I believe, is even more easier, and we don't need a calculator. You just take an inch tape and you can measure it. Men over 40 inches waist circumference, women over 35 have excess risk of heart disease. What about India? We have even strict criteria. Anybody with waist circumference more than 35 and women more than 31 are at excess risk for heart problems. And this is probably the best way to measure. This is the most quantitative way of measuring the fat cells in our body, the percentage of our weight that is made up of fat. I've been thin all my life, but my body fat percentage is now at about 18 to 20%. It's been that all my life, despite me doing fasting and intermittent fasting, calorie restriction, things like that. So this is a real challenge. But if men have less than 20, 25, they are okay. Women, if they have less than 35, they are okay. But to minimize heart risk for people who already have heart disease, I would try to move their weight below 15 for men and below 25. This is extremely strict criteria. This type of criteria is currently met only by competitive athletes who participate in Olympics or world tennis championships and things like that. For them, their body fat percentage is below 15 for men and below 25 for women. So below 25 for men and below 35 for women is what we recommend to stay healthy in routine life. So we talked a little bit about how important hunger is, because real hunger, which is faced by poverty, especially in the COVID pandemic, we are not entering in that realm. We are only focusing on how hunger should become a healthy pursuit for us to get more and more longevity, and more than longevity, improving our health span. That means how long in our life we can remain healthy and productive. That is, I think, more important than how many years we are managing to stay alive. So that is where hunger really comes in. And I discussed the weight and BMI and then body fat percentage. So I hope I gave you some idea of where we want to be, especially for people from Indian origin. Next, we'll move on to how fasting can help get to these targets. This is where most of the world is. The green is the time we spend at night, say from 7 p.m. until 9 a.m. We don't eat much. So that is I shouldn't say, we should say 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. That is what gives us 10 hours. The rest of the time we are either having meals or snacking. This is how our normal eating pattern is for most of the world. Earlier, it used to be it used to be 3 meals for several centuries. Now it is closer to 5.5 meals, both in US and in several parts of urban affluent India, where we are having close to 5 meals every day. So the red is the times that we are eating, close to 14 hours in a day. So what we are requesting for our heart patients is extremely aggressive. This grant or this IRB proposal is just being submitted this week. What we are requesting is to consider from 12 at noon and say 4 or 5 p.m., finish up 2 meals and give the body rest for about 16, 18, 20 hours with only water. This is the research protocol for people with heart failure and acute heart attack that we are now going to start looking at. This is extremely intense prevention. That's what we are moving towards. This is simple concepts that will help everybody. Emotional eating is a huge problem many of us face because school is more stressful, work is more stressful, even retired life is stressful. And the stress for, I would say, people at home is boredom. That itself is a stress. You don't know what to do with your time. So people just keep munching on some snacks. So this is what I think, unfortunately, is how people eat. I would say, in my estimation, about 70 to 80% of people worldwide are doing emotional eating. So this is for specific foods. I am hungry for ice cream, children tell me. And this persists despite having a good meal, and people feel guilty and shame after having more unhealthy things. So this is something we want to make it zero. Then comes habitual eating. You met my dad today, who has joined us briefly. And my mother is also a physician. 45 years of my life, I did not skip a single meal. I was very, very fortunate to have sufficient food when I'm flying between India and US, or when I'm in cardiology fellowship, which is extremely busy. Whatever my lifestyle was, I could still manage to get 3 meals. And that is because I was eating by the clock. It was for convenience, so that I can focus my attention on my career or studies or growth or whatever. And food is looked upon as some necessary thing which we do so that we can focus our attention somewhere else. It essentially becomes sort of unnecessary or a thing that we have to just deal with. So after 45 years, I realized this is okay, but I can be way healthier if I move from habitual eating towards physical hunger, being the cue to eating. Here, everything tastes good, not only the fast food, but real healthy things. Actually, the fast food doesn't taste healthy, and I'm not drawn towards the fast food when I'm truly hungry. If I'm fasting for 18, 20, 24, 30 hours, I'm naturally drawn towards, I'm going to show you the food. This one, I don't know if you see my screen, my slide may be the only thing, it's the banana. Somehow I seem to love the banana 3 times more. So we are not selling any bananas here today, but that's what happens. I'm going to again request people to mute yourself. So healthy things taste so much better when we connect with our real hunger. So who can do this study, publish it in big medical journals? Yes, we are going to do that. But today I'm inviting you to explore within yourself. Are you craving just emotionally, habitually, or can you really connect with your true hunger? And then you tell me, Doc, I feel that the banana tastes good, or some other fruit that you like tastes good. People think mango is bad. I'm telling, if you're really hungry, mango is God given. It is so important to have good, healthy food. So this you feel only after several hours of food, and you're open to more foods, and it goes away when you have healthy food. And this physical hunger, actually, when you fill it, satisfy that physical hunger with food, there is no shame, there is no guilt. You only feel more grateful for life itself. So we can stop my discussion right here. I feel I've given all the message I want to give. So I'm opening it up for any quick questions on this particular slide, which I feel has everything I want to say. I have another 100 slides. Prasad already hinted that he'll give me one more opportunity next month or a few months down the road. I'm happy to come back. Anybody wishes to unmute yourself and ask any question or tell me how you feel about this slide or how it has influenced your last few months, few years. Many people have taken up intermittent fasting now. So anybody is welcome to unmute yourself and share your thoughts. I know there are some of my friends here in Colombia, some of my patients. Anybody who's tried this is welcome to share your thoughts. If you are one of my friends and you tried it in the last few weeks, it might inspire more people who have joined us, rather than Anand saying, if one of our own practitioners of Siddha or this way of life, if they want to share, it will be even better.
So I'll ask a quick question. So what is, you mentioned like water in the idea of fasting, or where does water fit in it, or what's the significance of water?
Prasad asked the next slide. So I'm going to the next slide now. So this is the hunger scale. We are all somewhere in this hunger scale today. I hope nobody is at 1 feeling so starving and dizzy. I hope most of you are feeling comfortably satisfied in the green zone, feeling good. But if you are overfull, stuffed, this is not good. 8, 9, and 10, I'm sure you recognize feeling stuffed, full, sick, wanting to throw up. That is not a good sense to be. So 8, 9, and 10, we want to avoid. 3, 2, and 1 if you are eating mindfully, even that can be avoided. People say you can stay between 4 and 7, you'll be in very good health. This is, I think, reasonable for people who have a BMI of 21, 22. For any Indian who has a BMI of 24, we need to go into 3, 2, or 1, which means we have to connect with hunger at a deeper level. Everything else, all the medicines, diet pills, this diet, that diet, Atkins diet, everything has some partial benefit, but most people give that up. What I am telling you is, if you connect with this real hunger, you will not give it up. You will actually find it is meditative and you stick with it. Prasad's question of water comes in the next slide. I did not know what will happen. Although I'm a cardiologist, when I go to 2, 1, I thought I will faint. But after my age of 45, when I started really fasting and going into 1, I realized I won't faint or hurt myself. Even I can come to work. It takes 2 months to realize what happens at this point. So when we smile with gratitude in our heart, it can be gratitude for our family, for our work, for anything, for being alive. In this COVID world, many patients come to me and say, Doctor, why do you ask about gratitude? I'm grateful just to be alive, because people have lost near and dear ones. So that gratitude, if we can connect with, and if we can smile 20 times every hour, that's my request to everybody. That smiling 20 times is only half of the number of smiles children do. Children smile 40 times every waking hour. For adults, I'm requesting only half of that, 20 times. And then comes Prasad's question, drinking water. Water, many people nowadays don't drink, because in the last few decades, we've been marketed so many things that are tastier, fancier, sweeter, better. But when you're truly physically hungry, I'm telling you, you will like tap water. And the importance of water is, we don't want to hurt our body through fasting. There are some traditions where religiously people don't drink water, don't even swallow their saliva for some religious traditions. But as a cardiologist, my request to you is to look at water as a friend, and compared to every other day when you're fasting, drink more water. That will allow you to move into natural ketosis. What you're seeing here is a mechanism called metabolic switch. For me, it took 45 years of my life to realize how to do this. This metabolic switch means when there is no food in the body for 4 hours, the stomach is empty. By 12 to 16 hours, the liver, which has some glucose, it's like the refrigerator, that also becomes empty. It doesn't supply any more glucose. Then the body still needs energy to stay alive. It does this metabolic switching or natural ketosis, where the fat in our body starts getting dissolved, and that comes to the liver, and that is converted into the purest form of energy that we know of. It is called ketone bodies. So there is so much research going on in ketone bodies in the last 1 to 2 decades. We are entering into that research now at MU because of our patients' success stories over the last 3 to 5 years. But the water is the crucial thing, just as important as the smile. The smile is to prevent the heart getting the stress off the fast, and the water is the way the liver will metabolize the cholesterol, the lipid stores that come back from the body into ketones. So this is how the program works. You can do it. I can guarantee you will do it fine, because this has been there before we became human beings 100,000 years ago. This has been here with us for millions of years. When we were small life forms, even unicellular organisms, rats, snakes, monkeys, dogs, every life form, including humans, have metabolic switching. The only people who cannot prolong the fast for more than 15, 20 hours safely are people who are pregnant, or people who have insulin requiring type 1 diabetes. They should not fast. And people with advanced liver disease, they should not fast. And people with eating disorders, we recommend they should not fast. If you don't have any of those few things that I just mentioned, you can slowly experiment with how you can connect with the true physical hunger. Pattini peru marundu. Siddha consciousness says fasting is an excellent.
Anand, there is a question. What is the quantity of water we need to take to consume on a daily basis?
This we leave to the individual. See, I'm not treating you as a patient. I'm giving this as a seminar or lecture or just a discourse. So this does not allow me to work with your individual needs. Whatever you usually take, if you take 8 glasses of water every day, that is usually sufficient for most people. On the day that you're fasting, if you drink maybe 12 glasses, you will be better off for most people. Take extra 30-50%. When you're thirsty, drink water. When you're hungry, drink water. When you feel dizzy, when you feel lightheaded, drink water. You are going to feel a little lightheaded and dizzy for the first couple of months. After that, you will realize this water is fine. I can go on for several more hours. This is so empowering. People feel that it is so liberating. For me, that's how it was at 45 years. I'm sure for people who do not have access to food, there are so many people who are really poor and they don't have access to 3 meals a day. They know what I'm saying because from childhood, they've gone to bed hungry. But I did not have that experience till I was 45. So think about water and you will connect with how much water you need. And you don't need anything added to the water. Just have plain water and little more water than usual. You should be okay. This, I cannot just say this to everybody because in today's meeting, I know I see some of my patients who have heart failure. For them, we have to restrict even water when they are fasting. So this answer is not that easy to give to an open audience, but generally you need little more water than your usual day. Okay, we'll keep going. So Pattini Perumarundu, fasting is excellent treatment. It is not just for prevention, but also for disease, for illness. It's been propagated in our Tamil tradition of Siddha for 10,000 years. The next Siddha diet plan is extremely simple. This is the stomach that I'm showing you. Half of it at the end of a meal should be food. At the end of the meal, 25% should be water. So whatever food you eat, have 25% water. And they are saying at the end of your meal, you should still feel little hungry. So this is the beauty of the diet plan that has been with us for over 5,000 to 8,000 years. And arai vairu, thida unavu, kaal vairu, neer or more. That means buttermilk and then kaal vairu kaatru. That's what they had suggested. And this last thing is 3 meals for normal living, 2 meals if you are really interested in your physical health. And 1 meal only a day if you don't want just physical health, but you want spiritual growth. This has been there again for several thousand years. So we talked about heart disease, hunger. Now I touched upon how you can try fasting. 12 hours if you go, because on average, it's only 10 hours that people don't eat. So 14 hours, everybody, including children, can do that very comfortably. So overnight, every night, 14 hours. And then 1 day in a week, if you can go to 16, 18, 20, 24, and then stick to once a week or once in 2 weeks, if you go to 24 hours, that will be truly beneficial. And this has been said for, I say, close to 10,000 years in literature that is documented. That is the amazing part of what India has given to the world. So this is what was the first thing that allowed us to move from the animal world. We were not as strong as the lion or the tiger or as fast as the cheetah, but we have overcome every natural challenge because of using fire. No other animal uses fire. So this has allowed us to come to the top of the chain in the last few thousand years. The next big change was the nuclear weapons. So this has made actually wars go down. This is the most peaceful time in human history in the last few decades. Because so many countries have nuclear weapons, nobody wants to use it on anybody. So this is actually a good thing that has happened, I would say, in the big picture of things. So this is the most peaceful time because of the weapon. So that's the paradox. And this is where our future is heading. Artificial intelligence, thanks to people like Prasad, is going to become so dominant to the point that human beings may not even die. It is a scary thought, but it is possible. They say even within the next 50 years, people may not die anymore. We may, physically, this particular form that we have may not be able to last for eternity, but our intelligence or mind or whatever, we may be able to transfer to the computer, and that way we may be eternal beings. So that is where science is headed. So is there something that is beyond India, beyond US, beyond religion? All religions can follow. People who are poor can follow. People with less influence can follow. People of every language, every level of education can follow. I today take care of people who are 70 years old with heart failure and who have learning disabilities. They have not gone past elementary school. For them, can I suggest something that will be still truthful? And can I suggest something that is beyond time? This is my biggest interest. Can I say something today in the next 15 minutes that will be true to life forms that are pre-human? That means snakes and monkeys and chimpanzees and dogs. And that will be true even if we become super intelligent, like with AI, and we are able to go to different stars over the next million spaceships through computerized intelligence, whatever cyborg or whatever life form comes to fruition in the next 50 years. And if we don't die, can I say something in the next 15 minutes that will hold true even for those new artificial intelligent life forms? I feel we have something that is scientific, simple, effective, and meaningful, that is beyond all these limitations. What can I say? I have to take you back 150, 200 years to a journey that started in the United Kingdom, went throughout South America to Galapagos, and then came back through the Pacific Ocean and returned in 1830. But even from 1830, it took close to another 30 years for Darwin to say what he said, and that is evolution is through natural selection, and that human beings have family, which is monkeys, and our ancestors, which evolved from the ocean. So this is what he told us in 1859, and this is what we believe is science. And this we know in the Western scientific world only for less than 2 centuries. But for over 5,000 years, it has been written in Tamil Siddha book called Tolkappiyam. And this is the book that is now available on Google with English translation. So this is the English translation and the actual Tamil writing, which is over 5,000 years. Some say this book is 7,000 years old. Some say 5,000. So I just put, some say it is 2,000 or 3,000 years old. But Tirukkural, which came much, much later, is 2,000 years old. So I believe it's roughly about 5,000 years ago that this was said. And what they are saying, I'm going to summarize to you in this one slide. They are saying touch is present in plants, taste in the fish, smell in termites, sight in beetles, hearing in all the beasts, and then the mind in human beings. So this we have known for 5,000 years. It's just that the science that the West recognizes is newer. And even more profound is the small nuance that is present in Tolkappiyam. They say there are many humans who are not able to use their mind sufficiently, and they are not able to move into consciousness. Just because we are born human being does not make us sufficiently, I would say, discriminate in using our senses. And again, this is mind-blowing when they say some animals are having a deeper human-like consciousness. This also they have said 5,000 years ago. And they also hint upon super consciousness. It is not AI based. The AI is already beating us in chess. I don't think that is super consciousness. Super consciousness has been described in Indian tradition as uvagai, which is bliss or extreme happiness, and oli, which is described in the English term as enthusiasm. So I feel we've recognized this for 5,000 years, but we have not moved to actively seek this. We have instead focused our attention more on material growth, which is important. Going to the moon is great. Next, going to the Mars is important. Then to sustain our species, going to outer planets will be great. But this important thing is to realize there is value in what we have already achieved by becoming human. So the first Siddha that is recognized in Tamil tradition is Agathir, and Bodhidharma lived about 1,500 years ago, and he was so full of life that he said, I don't have anything more to do in Kanjivaram, which is close to Chennai. He got onto a horse and rode it all the way to China to spread Siddha tradition. He's a Buddhist himself, but the tradition he taught was Siddha. And he says, your nature is the Buddha. And the Buddha is the person who's free of plans, free of care. So that is what he wants all of us to experience. So what he did in China became Chen philosophy, and then it moved to Japan as Zen. So whatever I've been teaching for the last 5 to 10 years for my heart patients, I feel is closest to Zen. But then when it traces the roots of Zen, it comes from Siddha concepts. This was written 2000 years ago by Thiruvalluvar. He says, Inna Saidare Oruttal Avar Nane Nannan Jaidu Vidal. That means the best lesson to those who have done evil to us is to show them kindness. This inspired Tolstoy, and he inspired Mahatma Gandhi, and that has inspired Indian freedom from the British Empire. So this may be 2000 years ago, but it is still a very powerful message for our times, that we can show trust. And we saw a movie called Ria. It is just released this Friday. It's available on Disney, and that talks about that same trust. So people intuitively realize the value of connectivity and how we are all interrelated. And this is what Mahatma Gandhi himself acknowledges was the theme for his non-violent movement. Then Ramana Maharishi talks about this self-inquiry, or who am I? That's the only question he asks us to ponder on. And he believes our mind is strong enough to introspect on itself with just this simple question: who am I? So this is what we recognize as yoga, but in Tamil Ogam tradition also the same 8 levels are described, and Tavam is what we can enter into with fasting, and the final bliss or Sama Adi, that means connecting the mind and the body. That's all. You don't even need to worry about any particular religious belief. So this is the way I've been able to relate to my cardiac patients who may be of different religious belief in Missouri. When I tell them, you are not needing, you can continue with your own religious traditions, but try to recognize the value of using your mind to relate with your body in a deeper way. And that is Ogam. And that has been in our Tamil tradition propagated as dance, directly as postures and yoga traditions. Adimurai, which is martial arts, is also equally important. And that is what Bodhidharma took, and that became Kung Fu in China. And Tavam, we are all familiar with meditation practices. And this is what we just published about mind consciousness, and what we've been teaching here for the last 10 years as heart consciousness, where we are able to think a little beyond ourselves. And when we connect, it might be with our own children, it might be with people beyond our own inner circle, but when we are able to move a little more selflessly, that helps physical heart health. That is the real message, because this has been said for so many thousands of years in India, but we want to show that this works for our own health today. And then bliss and higher consciousness is something that some of our patients have actually been able to reach through our program. But everybody who tries our heartful living is able to move from this mind and selfish concerns and anxieties and fears to a little higher consciousness just by simple fasting methods. So this we are doing scientifically in our day-to-day practice. So this is what is the self-inquiry, where we connect with gratitude for anything. Every day we request everyone to wake up, but don't get out of your bed until you connect with gratitude for God or for your family or for your work or something. Let that warmth in your heart get you out of the bed. That will give you so much stress control and optimism, and that will allow you to connect with physical hunger, because physical hunger is not something easy for anybody. And the logical mind says it is silly to be hungry. I have food, I want to eat. But if you connect with your own hunger on a once a week basis and 14 hours every night, I have so many scientific evidence that it will take me several hours to go through the details, but you will live longer and you will live healthy. That is what we know. For that, we are requesting you to do it through gratitude, through self-inquiry. That is empowering, improves mind-body connection, reduces all the metabolic problems of diabetes, cholesterol, blood pressure, thereby improving heart health and brain health. Dementia, I said, is the biggest thing that's increasing. That also comes down by 80%. Then cancer is the biggest challenge again. When people live 80, 90, 100 years, So that cancer risk comes down again by 80%. So heart disease, 80 to 90%, cancer, 80 to 90%, dementia, 80 to 90%. So this is like magic, but that magic requires a lifetime commitment to staying hungry. This is a patient who took to our program and she could not lose weight. See, this is her weight curve in 2019. So over the last 2 years, she did not lose much weight. This is what she says. I'm going to play what she actually said. What do you feel grateful about?
That I wake up every morning.
Excellent. You started out saying that you're an optimistic person.
I've always been optimistic and always figured I had at least the glass half full.
Now, how do you look at your life?
That my glass is always full and overflowing.
What? So she's saying her glass is totally full and overflowing, which means she has found that level of self-confidence despite being bedbound with vertebral fractures, and she has every organ involvement. Every organ has failed this when she started our program. And within 2 months of recording this, she actually lost her life. So she's not with us anymore, but look at the level of confidence with which she is connecting. She recorded this so that other people can find that level of optimism in their life. This is a friend of mine who has lost a ton of weight and he is feeling 15 years younger by putting less food in his body. Actually, no food for nearly 2 days in every week. And he also has so many health challenges. His heart squeeze itself is extremely weak starting out, and that is actually getting stronger. So what I'm saying is when we put fuel for the car, it goes longer. But for your heart, I'm saying the opposite. When you don't put food in your mouth, your heart will work better, will thank you. That is what is the message here. And this weight reduction he has achieved is not over years, it is within few months. And despite not being able to go out and run marathons or bicycle for 40 miles, he's achieving this much weight reduction only through fasting and calorie restriction. And he does it out of gratitude. It's not possible otherwise. This is a patient, if you look at her curve, it starts in 2018 when she entered our program, and she has continued to lose weight and stay 20 years younger despite irregular heart rhythm, diabetes, extreme obesity, and a weak heart. She has been able to come off several medicines. This is a person who is in her 80s. You would think at 80s, the resilience the body has is lesser, and she has liver failure. I said fasting cannot be done in liver failure. Then how is she losing weight? Are we doing some magic for her? She's losing it by what we call calorie restriction. Every meal, she goes into hunger, connects with herself, with gratitude, and then puts in little food into her body. She lives the life of a Siddha, and she has lost so much weight and continues to gain more health despite moving into her mid-80s now. So this is a book written in the 1970s on a phenomenon called flow or a zone, and it was based on research with music writers like Ilayaraja, A.R. Rahman, or tennis players like Roger Federer, Djokovic. When people have to perform at very high level, Prasad, and when he plays his music, I know that he enters into flow because he's so ecstatic. That flow experience means you forget time. You engage optimally with your task. You're not very self-conscious, and you want to do it again because it is so liberating and enjoyable. So this 1975 book has inspired an entire field called positive psychology. Psychology means dealing with depression, anxiety, and things like that. But this positive psychology deals with how we can use our mind to do even better with our life. So this book transformed the Western thinking. And this is how this flow works. As we increase our skill, we can cope with better challenges. Say, for instance, if I was to play tennis with Prasad, he doesn't play much tennis. I've been playing tennis all my life. I may be somewhat bored playing with Prasad. But if I have to play tennis with Roger Federer, I'll be very stressed and anxious. If I was to play tennis with somebody who has played enough tennis and competes like I do, then I could enter into this flow. Not every time. Every time I play, 1 in 10 times I can enter into this flow. This is what Mihai Csikszentmihalyi described about 1970s. But everybody can experience this flow in our day-to-day life. I'm going to show you how. We don't need to learn tennis. This Quran says, Nandri marappadu நன்றன்று நன்றல்லது அன்றே மறப்பது நன்று. What is it? This is Tirukural 2000 years ago says, be grateful for good, but learn to instantly forget anything that's bad. So that is going deeper and deeper into gratitude in the moment. It is not about past, it is about in the moment. And this thing talks about food. அற்றது அறிந்து கடைபிடித்து மாறல்ல தூய்க்கத்து வர பசித்து. Explore within yourself what is healthy. How would you explore that? By seeing how you are able to move, how hungry you feel before the next meal. I said hungry is good. And then he said, eat only when you're really hungry again. So here in the x-axis, I'm showing gratitude. The y-axis, I'm inviting you to face the challenge of being hungry. So you are challenging your body and your mind with your gratitude to cope with a little more being hungry. And then what you can gain also, Tirukural says, ஒளி ஒருவருக்குள்ள வெறுக்கை இழி ஒருவருக்கு திறந்து வாழ்துவனர். Life's highlight is being passionate and enthusiastic. Thinking you can do without it is a disgrace to your existence. So you can enter into flow. That's what I'm trying to say. This flow that Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi described in the 1970s is particular to music or to sports or some out of the world experience that lasts only a few minutes. But for thousands of years, we have known that life itself can become an expression of flow. Life itself, every day-to-day living can be meditation. And how do we exemplify that? Through saying flow is overflowing. The word Pongal means overflowing. And we've had this tradition for several thousand years. And on the first day of the year, we start out thanking with gratitude, expressing that overflow. We want the food to deliberately overflow on that particular day. The rest of the year, we don't unnecessarily waste food, but the first day, we want to show the exuberance, abundance of life. Another example of that is Lord Shiva, who in our Tamil tradition is depicted as the dancing god. So this is the ring of fire, and he is, you can see his head is sort of, the hair is extended on both sides. The only way the hair will fly on both sides is if he is actually moving. So the movement is our ability to experience life. So that is what the invitation is towards. So without connecting with any religious tradition, we can say that that movement is being shown as our tradition. The flow is in our nature. There is equality for every life form. So we talked about Siddha consciousness, then we'll see how we put it all together in heartful living. This is new science that came out 10 years ago. These monkeys are telling us a very profound message. What they are saying is both the monkeys are same age. This monkey looks its age, whereas this one looks insanely young. The reason for that is it took a 30% cut of food and it sustained it for 5 years. So if we eat less food, we will live not only longer, but healthier, and we will be more active. It works for monkeys, you may ask. Does it work for human beings? This study published in 2019 in the very prestigious Lancet looks at 35-year-old people who have a BMI of only 25. They are extremely healthy, active, without any heart attack, diabetes, high blood pressure. But when healthy people take a 25% cut, that means basically they are, instead of having 3 meals a day, they're having 2 meals a day. For 2 years, they lose 10 kilos. Inside normal BMI of 25, they go to 22. And inside normal blood pressure, cholesterol, metabolic parameters, essentially 35-year-old people become 25-year-olds by doing this. So can we do this indefinitely? No. But some amount of restriction, restraint is going to make us more energetic in the mind, physically stronger, and improves our longevity. This is only published last year. If you wait another 20, 30 years, we will have more publications in more long-term voluntary groups that are trying to do this. But we've done this for several thousand years in so many Indian traditions, and we know it works. So this is our own study where we've looked at depression, anxiety in 15-year-olds. Just being stressed at the age of 15, 20 years later, those same people end up with more obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and risk for heart attack. So our children's mindset is so important. So focus on your children and grandchildren. Show them through your smiling and your optimism that life is fun. That is the real inheritance we can give our next generation. So that's why I go to our schools. Everybody in this picture is the principal of some school in Columbia, Missouri, where I live for the last 15 years. So I show these programs to our school principals, so they'll take it to their school children and encourage more optimism in this world. We take it to a holistic conferences, how this hunger and gratitude experience works. And this is our cardiology fellow who has taken this fasting. He is now going to start practice in Arkansas, and he's going to teach this to so many of his patients. So this is modern science also. This is another cardiology fellow who uses tennis as a way of expressing his health, and he does 20 hours of fasting, 16 hours of fasting, and he feels it's giving him more alertness and reduced caffeine requirements. So we teach this for so many people. And this is a very good friend of mine who ended up with a heart attack. And despite walking on the treadmill, he's able to experience flow on the treadmill. This red line is the exertion he feels. It drops despite him continuing on the treadmill. And the only way he does that is by entering into flow. This is another professor here at MU who would get short of breath within 2 minutes. After a heart attack in 2018, he learned how he can exercise more, enjoy exercise so much to the point that he's now running marathons. He has taken up fitness training as he's growing. And this flow for him is not only on the treadmill, it's become a way of life. So in the Western world, we can show our level of confidence. This is just some slides where I do it myself. So whatever we preach, we want to be able to practice. So I request people to participate in physical activities where you lose track of time. And this is my story. I hiked for 5 hours to reach the peak of this mountain with my wife and daughter. But this is where I am at the top. But what I'm showing you here is a good friend of mine who I invited to today's talk. So if he's here, I want him to say a few words. He is a chef in Slovenia. He has no religion. He has no savings. So he has not yet been in an aeroplane. He still lives in Slovenia, which is former Yugoslavia, Eastern Europe. And he has no major savings. In 2018, when I met him, he had just lost his few-month-old son because of a congenital disease. He was still smiling, he was outdoors, but his inner truth is he took a 50% salary cut to live an outdoors life. He gave up the job in a 5-star chef job to be outdoor tour guide. And he says, people take food for granted. They lose value for it when they pay money for it. Most of us in today's group, we don't do our own farming, we don't do our own fishing or hunting. So we all pay money and get food. So we have to really connect with the true value of food. This is what he told me. But then he also, I realized chatting with him for those 5 hours of hiking, that he's living on only 1 or 2 meals a day. He says, I'm so relaxed, I don't need more food. So that was mind blowing for me at my age of 45. So after I met him, after that, I'm eating as little food as I can to stay healthy. I don't eat as much food as I can. I eat as little food as I can. So I do once a week intermittent fasting for 24 hours. And then every night for 14, 16, 18 hours, I don't put food in my body. So I have some fruits in the morning and then essentially a late lunch or early dinner. I can do even lesser, but I still bike 30 miles or I play 2 hours of tennis and I still work as a cardiologist for 8 to 10 hours a day. So my work is physically demanding, but because of this one individual, I'm thriving on probably 50% of the food that I was taking for the first 50 years of my life. So he is a true Siddha without ever visiting India. And despite all that happened in 2018, he sent this new picture in 2020 with his wife and twins that he now has. So there is so much. Life has ups and downs, but if we persist with it, we will come out on top. So whatever knowledge that science or spirituality gives us, over time we have accumulated it, and that has allowed us to gain skills and habits, and it is the reason for our wealth and power. But this self-inquiry is very simple. It is very intuitive. It is very pure. I cannot pass it on to my son. I cannot even pass it on to myself for tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, if I want to be happy and fulfilled, I have to start from zero. That is the humble self-inquiry that we all have to, I invite you to engage in through fasting and through gratitude. And that will give you the resilience to cope with every challenge, including COVID and including everything else that 2022, 23 will bring, that you can deal with in a little better way through self-inquiry. So this again, we are publishing slowly. We have so much we want to publish. That's why I come to work 3 in the morning. Self-inquiry is what we talk about, asking the question, who am I? That directly elevates consciousness. Consciousness is simply ability to be more optimistic, Like my patient who died 2 months before death in the bed, she is bedbound and still saying she's so optimistic. This gives more meaning in life, gives us confidence and optimism. Then we can sustain whatever diet we want to sustain, 30, 50, 70% calorie restriction. And then we can stay healthy and we gain more resilience. And not only more years, today we will feel more alive. So this is our new puppy, Kulfi. If we put it in a cage, I'm showing Kulfi as consciousness. We feel fine in our own room indoors, but I invite you to spend more time outdoors. That will open our mind and our consciousness to living life in a better way. But consciousness, our philosophy is not only in the mind. That is what I want to leave you with today. Consciousness involves the body. So consciousness is movement. So please, at any age, stay physically active. For my heart patients, the number one physical exercise that I'm teaching, even when they are in the hospital acutely short of breath, is fasting. Fasting is the only exercise that is safe on the heart, and it is actually a physical exercise. That is what rat studies are showing us. I'm learning about these rat studies going on in the last 5 years. So I'm translating it immediately into cardiac patient care. But we will do our own studies here. In the next 10 years, we'll have so much more knowledge, hopefully, in this field. But my request to you is to not only look at consciousness in the mind level, engage your body also in it. This is a patient of mine over the last 15 years. She should have risked her life at that point when she was 65 because of extreme obesity. She continues to lose weight. And now she's at 85, looking at spending healthily her 100th birthday. So this fix she has done without gastric bypass surgery on her own. And this type of curve, I don't think is available in any scientific literature. We are the only people who've done this now for 5-10 years in our hospital for heart failure patients. This is the last patient who wants to say hello to you. On 50 days of not putting any food in his body, the only food he had is water. And he connected with hunger gratitude based on our program. I did not ask him to go 50 days. I said only 1 day in a week. But because he had tight blockage in all his arteries and the heart surgeon wanted to do open heart surgery, next day he started this fast. And he is in the hospital. This is the 50th day when he's still fasting. The next day, he started having food. But what his message is life is not half full or half empty. When you connect with yourself at a deeper level, life is actually totally full and overflowing experience. That is what his message is. And he's after 2 years, he's still healthy. He's still not had that bypass surgery. His heart from 40% has now become 55%. The squeeze is actually normalized. So that is his story. 50 days of no food. And then every week, 1 day he goes without food, and other 6 days he eats a vegan plant-based diet. And this, some of these concepts, we've made it available through this simple book. We want to write so much more. The next book is going to be on gratitude, but that experience I've already tried to give you in these few slides. So we're going to solve this one patient's problem, and we'll stop with that. The truck is overloaded, the tank is empty, the road is not clear. The road will clear only when we connect with our gratitude. We will see our future only from within, not from outside. So please, please connect with something that you're grateful for, and don't get out of the bed in the morning until you do, and smile 20 times every hour. That will give you a clear path ahead. Now, how do we fix this empty tank? Once you connect with hunger, even if you are a heart patient with a weak heart, the road is actually going downwards. So very, very little fuel is needed to travel when you're hungry. The natural ketosis will take care from your own liver, so providing you with enough fuel. And once you learn this hunger and gratitude as a way of life itself, then you will realize you're not an old truck with overloading mental burden, physical strain. You will learn that you are actually a hybrid vehicle which can do great with gas, but equally fine with electricity. It will go for several hundred more miles than we thought possible. So that is a journey that I invite you inside yourself to find to be your own truth. For that, we have 8 hours of recording. If you go to High Life Journey, which is all available for free, but I invite you to answer the first 5 minutes of questions we have there so that we will understand what risk you bring. So that over 3 months, when you redo the same 5-minute questions, you can see for yourself, and we will hopefully see significant improvement in your mindset, in your stress levels, in your heart's health, blood pressure, cholesterol, all these things you can manage on your own. I'm here to help anybody, anytime, but this system High Life Journey aims to be a self-help tool for anybody. So share this website, ask anyone who needs heart health to try these 8 hours of videos. It's all free. And hopefully people will recognize the value, just like so many hundreds of our patients over the last 5 years have followed our self-inquiry methods and gained health. So I'm going to stop here, and I can go on for another hour. I want to have a chance to answer some more questions. But this, before I stop, is the 4 things that we ask people to connect with. Being more aware when you're exercising, 5-10 minutes of silence after doing a self-talk, and then doing some act of kindness for 1 minute. This, my daughter, 11-year-old Laya, and Prasad's son Anish, and few of their friends are trying to take it to their own schools so that kids can learn more confidence, more optimism, and more connection with their world through these programs. We are writing $1 million grant to study that in 20 kids. But the reality is, today is with us. We want to figure out reasons to be happy and celebrate life, despite whatever health challenges we have. So for that, 14 hours of fasting every night, and maybe 24 hours if your health allows, once a week. I'll really stop here and take any questions. Thanks so much, Prasad and Uncle, for giving me this chance for connecting with our group today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anand. It was such a profound talk with so many great points. Put it, in such a nice presentation of visuals, stories, anecdotes. You really brought tremendous knowledge into very nicely engaging tips and guidance, and it all flows very nice. Like you said, there was a flow throughout. That was wonderful. And so we have some questions already coming in. So let me ask. So Rita, madam, do you want to ask, or I can go ahead and ask for you?
I can ask. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chokkalingam. It was a wonderful talk. Amazing, your connection of body, mind, and spirit.
Rita,
And
before you say anything, I have to say something.
yes,
there are
please.
very few people like Prasad and Prasad's dad who can talk and smile at the same time. And you are already one of them. So you don't need any answer from me. You just keep smiling.
You know about my smile?
Yeah.
It's natural now. But
Good.
when I left home in 1978, went to England, my parents gave me 2 advice. My mother said, Rita, just smile. Everything's going to be all right. And my father said, when you go to England, people will always say, how are you? And you say, fine, thank you. Don't say you have a stomach ache or headache. Just say, fine, thank you. And if they say, how do you do? Just say, how do you do? So that has taken me through life. Thank you so much.
So what was your question? You didn't have any question? You just wanted to share that?
No. I had a question. My question is that when you fast, the next day, the problem with telling people, especially about Ekadashi and all that, if you fast, the next day, there's a tendency to overeat, feasting. So that in turn gives you a liver disease, right? That has, there's some data to show. So how do you overcome that, fasting and feasting?
So can I show 1 or 2 more slides? Because Rita asked this. So this is what our routine day is. Whenever we feel hungry for a few minutes, we start eating some food, right? And this is what is available in my corridor. Whenever I'm hungry from working, quickly I can go get anything here. So people who already listened to me for 1 hour, can you quickly point out what is healthy in this picture? The question is a trick question.
There's nothing healthy.
Exactly.
It's all packaged.
I want the same answer from 1 more person. Do you see anything interesting? I want 1 more no before I go on. Unmute yourself and somebody else has to say no before I say any more.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, another interesting, I don't have any money to buy any of that. So I don't have card or coin or cash. That's a good problem.
I see some water there.
Yes, if you see water, it is healthy. But even this water, I try to discourage because it is so much extra plastic. So if you can bring your own water to work, you will save so much plastic. But anyway, we'll go on with a couple more quick slides. So this is what is the hunger gratitude experience. The gratitude and the smile is the real meditation. Hunger is only a tool. Okay. So then the next day you will not feel like you're going to overeat because you're connecting with more gratitude that will allow you to realize what you're really trying to do, which is again only being more grateful. That's all the whole thing is. So this says overnight, stay hungry. So in the morning, try to feel 1 or 2 hours of being hungry. For lunch, 1 hour of hungry. For dinner, 1 more hour of hungry. How can you feel between breakfast and lunch? How soon can you get hungry? The only way you will feel hungry is if you end up having only fresh plant-based stuff, fruits, vegetables, nuts, then you'll feel hungry. If you have the big meals, you're not going to feel hungry. If you have fast food and plenty of meat, you're not going to feel hungry. The way they market these things is to keep you comfortable. But what I'm saying is hunger is the most healthy thing. Then they will all back off and say, okay, you eat what you want. Because plant-based diet, vegetarian diet is considered unpleasant for people who fast because it makes you hungry. But hunger is what we are asking you to connect with in the first place. So I know so many friends for Ramzan, they fast throughout the day and they are not getting much health benefits because before the fast and after the fast, it's a festival. So they end up feasting. So for my friends everywhere in the world, my request is to connect more with that hunger itself through gratitude. And that will bring the inflammation down, bring the heart risk down. That's what we are starting more studies on in people who are critically ill. We are seeing how we can show them how being hungry can help. So yes, the feeling hungry is good, but if you give more water, more plant stuff, how much nuts do you think you can eat when you're hungry? You cannot, the mouth gets tired. It says it's aching here and there. So if you put more healthy things at home, you're not going to step out and go get the fast food. So fill your cupboards and fridge with healthy things, and you'll find that you find more and more gratitude with healthy things. And then in the other 6 days when you're not fasting, it's okay to actually have full feasting, healthy meals. It's not like you have to stay hungry all 7 days. So much health benefit. You can find how it works for you in your own time.
So Shreyas has a raised hand. Do you have a question?
One more last slide I'll show about this intermittent fasting. See, we are not asking people to do intermittent fasting because that has so many health benefits, and people still look at hunger as unpleasant thing and they get only 20-30% calorie restriction. But just with intermittent fasting, you can live 100 years. I believe that's so powerful. What are we teaching them? We are teaching hunger gratitude experience. This is not a diet. This is not fasting. This is actually meditation. That's what we are teaching. And the reason I teach this for 10 years is because I believe the cup is not half full. It is not half empty. It is totally full and overflowing. That's my personal belief for the last, I don't know, from the age of 20, for the last 27 years, I've believed that. And so many of my patients come back and say that's what they believe now when they practice this. So this gives so much optimism, confidence to move through life. Hunger is accepted gratefully. And the amount of calorie restriction you can do for months, for years, for lifetime is so much more profound. This is how people sustain it for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, so effortlessly. And this makes them feel alive today. Today is the only day that matters. 100th birthday is great, but I'm so much more focused on today. So if you're not happy today, don't follow my program. Throw it in the trash. But if it makes you more energetic, more happy, more smiling today, then you follow High Life Journey or High Life or Heartful Living, or whatever we want to call it. I'll stop. Yes, Prasad.
Yeah, so Shreyas, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just have a question. Hare Krishna Guruji, thank you for this opportunity, and even I thank Dr. Anand Chokalingam for his time spending with us. Thank you very much, sir. It was very pleasant hearing you. And I have my personal question, sir. My mom is with LV dysfunction and EFR is 39%.
Okay.
But she takes so many drugs every day.
Where
With
is she based?
her, I didn't get you.
Where is she located?
No, she's with me. She's with me in India.
Okay.
She's
What is
with
the
me in
question?
India, Bangalore. See, we were discussing with fasting and all. So with all the drugs which has to be taken all through the day, in 3 iterations, mean to say morning, and how could this fast compensate the drugs? Mean to say, if drugs are to be taken, it has to be with the food or after the food, something like this, which will be prescribed by the doctor. So how I can ask her to fast?
Do you know her BMI?
She is with around 5.2 with weight of around 60,
So she's
55 to 60.
she's not excess weight.
No, she is not with excess weight.
So on the day that she fasts, we'll have to go over exactly what medicine she's on. She's not diabetic on insulin.
No, she was not not diagnosed with diabetes.
So
But the
my
problem
suggestion
is,
will be she
no,
can
no,
have with a cup of coffee or tea or something in the morning, her morning medicines. She may
Okay.
have a banana if she needs in the afternoon for medicines if she needs it, or she can move the afternoon medicine to the evening when she has the only meal. But just because she has a regimen of medicines does not mean she should not fast. If she's not
Okay.
on insulin, I believe she can fast. And if her weight is already too low, if her BMI, if you calculate and you find it is only 22 and she's already thin and frail, we have to be very careful. But otherwise, if she's not like that, she's reasonably active, she will significantly benefit from once a week fasting for 24
Okay.
hours. And
Yeah,
beyond that,
fasting
the
means,
other 6 days, she may have to take a little extra food to keep
okay,
losing.
okay.
We don't want her to lose
Yeah.
weight. I don't know her
Yeah.
personally, so I have to evaluate her more deeply. But if
Yeah,
weight
yeah.
is not an issue, then she has to make sure she takes little extra calories in other days and avoid white rice, avoid refined flour,
Okay.
all snacking. The word snack, nobody needs in the world. The word drinks,
Yeah.
nobody needs, including alcohol.
Yes.
Tea, coffee alone may be actually okay. Every other
Okay.
drink is not required.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Sitting down with a meal is excellent. 2 meals is good. 3 meals is okay. But
okay.
snacking we can avoid.
Okay. Okay. And will the fasting affect on her anticoagulant? If she's on anticoagulant,
Yes.
can he?
So what might
She,
happen is it may fluctuate a little more, but once
yeah.
fasting becomes a routine, then that also we can adjust the dose based on.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for that, sir. Sir, and I have one more query. Recently, my aunt also was diagnosed as two arteries as blockage of around 60 to 70%. So some of the doctors told that she has to be undergoing this angiogram and angioplasty. And but some of the doctors are telling, like Ayurvedic doctors or some other doctors are telling that she can take medicines and it will surpass. Means to say, there is no requirement of this angioplasty and all.
What
Is
is her
it that
height? What is her height and weight?
she's also with the same height and weight?
So this fasting may not, what should I say? We see in US too many heart patients who are excess weight. So this program directly helps them within few months to get stronger. For your mom and your aunt, fasting will make them more resilient to cope with heart challenges, but it may not completely fix the issue because they're not on the bigger side. You see what I'm saying? So, but
Yeah.
still, I would request both of them to try at least 14 hours every night without food and once a week, 24 hours. And then the diet, what we can change. I didn't bring too many slides. Let me see if I have some slides. This is very, very important question that you asked. So Prasad, can I take another 2 minutes? I don't know how much more time I have.
Yeah, you're welcome to take more time.
Okay. So this is what our ancestors did. They walked or ran every day 10 miles. I'm not asking everyone to do it now, suddenly, especially when they have heart problems. But this is how our ancestors lived and survived. And their genes is what is keeping us alive. But they were doing this not for having a treadmill. They were doing it just to get some food in their body to protect themselves and to survive. Fast forward to the modern man. We have become unhealthy because of mental stress. Standard American diet is becoming worldwide a problem, which means fast food, eating unhealthy things, avoid and sedentary lifestyle. So these are the major challenges, which may be not that obvious in your particular mom and aunt's situation, but you might find there is so much more room to work on this. My request to you will be to spend that 8 hours with them on those recordings, High Life Journey, and see how you can slowly incorporate more and more of that. And this
Definitely.
is what we cover in those 8 hours. How people who are thin, people who are on the excess weight side, people who are morbidly obese, how they can all learn how to connect with food a little better. So these are the thousands of diets which are being sold online in India, in the US, but we are not selling any diet in our High Life Journey. We are only asking you to connect at a deeper level. These are some of the diets that you will find are extremely helpful. The most helpful diet I feel is the DASH diet, which has mostly plant-based fruits and vegetables. But even better than that is, I don't even see, plant-based diet is this vegetarian and vegan diets that may be even better. But ultimately, this is what I want to leave you with. This is all the cholesterol and inflammation in the body. The right side you see. And much of our diet is inflammatory. Meat, processed meat, organ meat, all that is bad. Chicken and fish may be better, but even that has inflammatory potential. Refined carbohydrates, the chapatis, dosas, every white rice, all these things have, and then all the snacks, the Indian snacks, sweets, soda, Coke, Pepsi, Gatorade, Powerade, all these things we want to make close to zero. Then what can we really eat? If we can sustain ourselves mostly in plants, green leafy vegetables, whole grain bread, brown rice, quinoa, fruits, vegetables, tea, coffee, all the nuts, especially walnuts. The healthiest fat is not olive oil or any other particular oil. It's actually avocado. That is the health, not avocado oil. I'm talking about no juicing, no apple juice, orange juice. I'm talking about the actual fruits when I say avocado or apples and mangoes and things like that. So that's what we are talking about. Little bit of wine, even that is controversial. I suggest no wine. And the healthiest, most anti-inflammatory food may be fasting. How long somebody can fast depends on how much body reserves you have. If you're excess weight or obese, BMI is 30, 40, then you can try this fasting for months and years, like several of my patients. But if you're already on the thinner side, you'll have to stick to these foods and try to gain more health. I hope I've answered those questions. And
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
thank you.
One more question, I think. Pandian, do you want to ask, or I can just read your question from the chat? Okay, so Pandian is asking Dr. Radha Pandian. Are you there, madam? Okay, she's saying, in a diabetic patient on many oral drugs, will fasting lead to a risk of hypoglycemia?
I've had so many nutritionists, dietitians, endocrinologists, diabetologists participate in our program. They've attended the entire 8-week series and they are following it personally. But to translate that message to their own patients, it's still a challenge. They are not able to translate it. Even I will not tell what to do for diabetics. I want this to be more of a self-inquiry where they slowly find within weeks, within months, how they can slowly find that relationship with being hungry without getting hypoglycemia. Most oral agents we want to stop. I'll say every oral agent we want to stop on that particular day that you're fasting. And if you're on insulin, you might still need long-acting insulin at 1/3 or half the dose. But if you drink plenty of water, you can avoid acidosis. Ketoacidosis is not something we want to admit people into the hospital with. And again, if you try it straight away for 24 hours, that risk is there for even type 2 diabetics and on medicines. But slowly, when you learn it over weeks, you can ease into this way of life. And for diabetics, the losing weight doesn't happen as fast as for non-diabetics because they're not able to engage into that levels of fasting, and every day getting into ketosis is not easy for them. But this process works for diabetics. For type 1 diabetic, actually in the last 2 weeks, I have a very smart 60-year-old professor who has an insulin pump. For him, I showed him this diet which is anti-inflammatory, mostly plant-based. And I asked him to monitor, because he's type 1 diabetic all his life from the age of 15 for 45 years. I've still asked him to try connecting with hunger because he has about a BMI of close to 30. So he says, I'm going to try it, doctor, because he has the insulin pump and he monitors continuously. I believe in the next 3 years, he will achieve what he wants with weight loss, but it's not a straight road. You have to slowly ease into it. Oral agents, we want to avoid on the day of fasting. Insulin, we may need 1/3 to half the dose.
Great. Any other question? You can unmute and ask if you have a question. So what is it with smiling, Anand, that helps the heart?
This, my dad also did not agree. He said, smiling is silly. People will look at you, what's going on? Why are you smiling at work? But now we have this mask. COVID has given us the mask. So inside the mask, we have the freedom to smile. But even after the pandemic goes away, keep smiling. The reason is, there are actually studies saying when we smile rather than frown, we can actually reduce stress levels. So the body is connected in so many ways with the mind that we continue to learn and explore. The mind actually feels relaxed when we smile. And when we are relaxed, we smile more. So it's a vicious, it's a positive feedback that will help protect our mindset, but directly reduces stress on the heart and gives us more optimism and enthusiasm. And if you smile when you're fasting, then the subconscious realizes that we cannot force food, or he's just going to continue the fast. That's what the subconscious realizes. And that way we will be able to stay firm with our dietary adjustments that we are teaching the body when we smile. It's a way of talking to our subconscious.
Great. But sir, do you have a question? I know you were trying to unmute.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Anand. It was really, really excellent. I have two questions. One is related to milk products consumption here. How much we can do that daily basis. And the second question is related to dhyana, meditation. So you have touched up to smiling and all that, body mind. So there is something beyond that. It's called dhyana. I think you might have done some research. Maybe you can throw some light on that.
Okay. I'll take the first question was about dairy products. Dairy has been an Indian tradition for thousands of years. But the Western science says dairy also is inflammatory because it is animal product. Myself, I play tennis several days in the week, and I've tried going dairy free for several months. And it seems to give me some anti-inflammatory benefit, in the sense I'm close to 50 years old. To play tennis with a 15 or 20-year-old is not easy. So my body recovers sooner, and I'm able to go back to the tennis court when I have less dairy. So what do I have instead? Almond milk, hemp milk, soy milk, these are all other options. Even for yogurt, there are dairy free alternatives. And any type of meat, including eggs, chicken, and fish, have more inflammatory potential compared to plant-based protein. People say, oh, how do I get my protein? The Indian dals and lentils and the chickpeas, black beans, red beans, these things have so much healthier anti-inflammatory type of protein that we don't need any type of animal protein. Calcium we can get from the other milk sources, or calcium can be supplemented as tablets. And some multivitamin B12 supplementation is needed if you go vegan, which you don't need to do if you are vegetarian. But these are all still at exploratory stages. But for some of my heart patients who, despite getting stents and despite being on best medicines, if they continue to come back with more blockages in their heart, I may encourage them to try more plant-based veganism type diet. There are some heart patients, especially from our part of the world, Indians, who are thin, who have several heart blockages in their 50s, who are not diabetic. For them, I suggest this, going anti-inflammatory. Just one more level of protecting the heart. So fasting is important, the smile is important, and then this anti-inflammatory type of diet may give a little extra benefit to the heart. Then you asked about tavam or dhyana. The difference may be subtle. I don't know too much. I looked up a little bit, and I tried to do meditation, just sitting for 10-20 minutes. And I feel there is so much evidence in several thousand years of literature that the evidence, if we go deeper into it, it is actually, in my personal experience, becomes more of a load for me to try to accomplish. So instead of learning knowledge, I try to practice it practically. And I teach what I'm calling active relaxation. So what I didn't touch too much about it today, but if you have a chance to go into those recordings on High Life, you can view it. What I teach is people with heart disease, when they are walking on the treadmill for exercise, how to smile. For people who are healthy like Prasad and they are running and playing with young children, how to smile. And when I play tennis, I smile because I want to win the tennis match. The way to win is by relaxing some more so that I have less unnecessary energy wastage. So I become more efficient when I smile during the actual sport. So the word smile I used to say, but what I'm actually meaning is when you're exercising, straining your body, putting it to its limits, if you can visualize, you're only half your weight. I'm 70 kilos. If I can think I'm only 30 kilos, that suggestion itself is that reinforcement. So that is a way of doing active relaxation. And that is, I believe, a very intuitive way you can explore in your own day-to-day living and see how you can enter into this dhyana or tavam in your day-to-day practice. So this is what was a Siddha tradition of using dance and using martial arts. That's why if you go into Kung Fu a little deeper, you'll find it's not to attack and kill somebody. That Chinese tradition also, they say it is not only to protect myself, but also to protect my opponent from getting injured. They want to dispower them without hurting them so that they can also go on with grace through the rest of their life. It is also part of meditation. So it can be done by sitting quietly. And for me, when I'm fasting 24 hours, I'm 10 times more grateful than the other 6 days of the week. So I'm so grateful for life itself. And when I have that food after that fast, the same banana that we are talking about, it honestly feels 10 times better. What else can I say? So that I believe is my way of experiencing tavam.
You're muted, sir. You're saying something.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doctor. It's really fantastic.
You try it on your own and you tell me in 6 months how you feel.
Sure.
So I don't know if we have Dr. Gopichan. He wanted to provide some remarks. Dr. Gopichan, sir, are you there?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, yes, Dr. Gopichan, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I could not contact. This one was not able to participate. You only conclude, sir. So I couldn't hear properly. I could hear only half of Professor Chokalingham's speech.
Okay, so we can continue with some questions. So Dr. Gopichan is our very good friend, and he's also a student of the Kendra, and we had hoped he could summarize, but he has not been able to follow the lecture for technical reasons. But Anand, people have been saying what you're saying is music to the ears. So many people appreciate what you're saying, and Loretta put a very nice message. Loretta, you want to say something? She said something about, it's made a huge change in their lives. So you want to say something about it?
I just want to thank you, Dr. Chokalingam, for all that you've done and taught us. We're eating a lot healthier. We're fasting at 14 hours a day, nothing after 7 o'clock p.m. and just water. And it's made a big difference, and we appreciate you.
I'm so glad that Loretta and Willie are with us because they've gotten healthier through our program, but their story is actually inspiring thousands. One of the slides that I showed is Willie's story, and he says, I'm going to only continue this longer. That energy comes from within. If everybody will do it, then I can take credit. But when people have to do it on their own, so it's actually a more humbling experience for me. So I also go to bed hungry because so many of my patients are going to bed hungry. The message is hunger is our friend, and it is going to keep us not only physically healthy and living longer, it's going to make us more alive today so that we can be more connected at a deeper level with life itself. And that message will be only my theory. But when Loretta and Willie come to us and show their story, share their true experience, then it becomes not only science, it becomes I would say, spiritual awakening for our society, which is what we need in this day and age.
Yeah, great stories. And I'll have Rita madam make her remarks, and then you can continue question answer. If people have to leave, then they can leave. So I want to close by 10:30 at least, the question answer we can have more time after that. So Rita, madam, you want to go ahead with your concluding remarks?
This is a very hard act to follow because I had prepared a few slides to share, but you've said everything and more, which is exactly in my slide. So now I don't know what to do. But anyway, I'll just go ahead and call it in a different name because I think it's important to bring awareness, the different aspects of these things. Let me see here. Okay, I put it in, do a screen share. Prasad, would you please let me do a screen share? Then...
You can share it. Yeah, it's
okay,
available.
All right, there you go. What I'm trying to do here is, can you see? You can see that. So, Dr. Chakalingam, for the last 1.5 years, I became interested in fasting through a spiritual experience. And as you know, Ekadashi is in India a religious festival, but along with that, it's a lifestyle change also. So Ekadashi, you would expect that it is praying to Vishnu, but I have become involved with Devi Mahatmya, Divine Mother chanting. And then when I went deeper into the Ekadashi text, I realized that it is nothing but Mother. Ekadashi is Shakti, the power of God. And the source for our misery is considered to be the demons. And they are the demons of greed and power, hunger, greed, pride, selfishness. All these things are considered to be the source of our misery. In Buddhism also, you have all the religions are really looking for a source for our misery, the attachment and aversions that we have. So they take the body into account, but they also, religions take into account that we have a mind, and then they take you a step further. So religion does play a role in our lives, and you've really tied in very well science and religion. But unfortunately, Ekadashi is considered only if you think about it, oh, it's fasting, I'm not going to do it, it's very hard, I have to go to work, etc. And I liked how you have said that fasting is not something that is to be afraid of, that when you connect it with your spiritual source, it can give you strength. And as you pointed out, in other religions, there is fasting already. Then you have other plans, diet plans, etc. But the one thing common that you brought out in all of your talk is that you took away the fear of hunger and diets, and you put in a positive aspect to it. And you said, this is amazing. We need hunger. It is good for us because we can now focus on something to be grateful for. And that is a really good thing that I've got from your talk. Now, with respect to Ekadashi, the common thing about your talk and Ekadashi is that in Ekadashi, we eat grains, but then we don't eat grains, but we focus on fruits, roots, nuts, milk. It's exactly what you said, the healthy part of what we need to do for Ekadashi. But Ekadashi is a lot more than just fasting. It is giving alms and yajna. So an important practice recommended by Ekadashi is to give alms to the poor, perform acts of kindness, and offering all service to the divine. And that's from chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita. Another aspect of your talk I wanted to bring forward was, you talked about the body, you talked about the mind, but with Ekadashi, it synchronizes with the lunar cycle. And I want to show you one thing. I recently co-edited and published a book called There is a Season. And we've got chapters by Dr. Sheila Patel, who's Chief Medical Officer of Chopra Center. And what we're trying to show in this book is that the linear living, linear thinking of modern society is one of the downfalls, because in the olden days, you said we had to walk a lot, we had to hunt for food. But what I'm adding to this with this book is that we also need to take into account that there are patterns that we have to look at. What is growing out? You talked about gardening in one of your YouTube lectures. You said gardening is a good benefit. So in this book, what I show is that if you live seasonally, if you know what crops are growing and eat seasonally, drink a lot of water, of course, it gives your body a break from eating the same thing. It gives your body a break from eating packaged foods, and it brings you in union with the environment. See, the second downfall of our modern society is that we are very individualistic in our thinking, whereas in our Vedic thought, life is interconnected. We are connected to the planets through our gravitational forces. We are connected to the ants, to the bees, to the pollinators. All these things are important for us. And by living just in a manufacturing, marketing society, we have lost our connections with our environment. And those connections are extremely important to stabilize our mind. Our mind, so of course, there's scientific evidence to show that the lunar cycle and the circadian cycles, they're closely tied. Because in coral reefs have shown how the corals, they put out new life during the full moon. So Ekadashi goes beyond fasting is what I'm trying to say. Ekadashi takes you the power of God, divine mother, as you may metaphorically say, takes you from the tamasic, which is living for the individual self and recognizing that you are part of a bigger picture. So it removes your pride, greed, and anger, and helps you develop tapas, helps you give to charity. And then, of course, it helps you focus on gratitude. Why? Because see, religion, the downside of some of the religions is that you go around saying, I'm a sinner, I'm a sinner. And so naturally you want to go outside of yourself to find fulfillment. But then if you go inwards, you realize I am complete. I am Satchitananda. That inner transformation needs to take place. And that is what Ekadashi is. So is Ekadashi is only a festival? What I'm trying to say is Ekadashi is not only a festival. It is etymologically speaking, it connects your 10 indriyas, the sense organs and the karmendriyas, to make it one. And when you look at how you study or read or think, when you sit in meditation, which is what you recommend, what happens is all the sensory influences that come in turn into one universal. So instead of being scattered, Vikshepa Shakti, and wanting jealousy, all these things, when you realize, no, I don't need all this. I am complete. And it all dissolves. And then you develop that Viveka Shakti, which is needed to decide, okay, what is real and what is unreal? What is real is what is within the inner consciousness. And that allows you to renounce and give up the food that you need. So that Ekadashi then leads you to Jnana, which is Tat Tvam Asi. That thou art. That is the consciousness that connects all of us. That thou is you, that thou art. You are the consciousness. So just as the single sun illumines the whole universe, so does the indwelling spirit illumine the entire body with consciousness. That's from the Bhagavad Gita. Whoever perceives by spiritual insight the distinction between kshetra and kshetrajna, as also the freedom of the spirit from the hold of nature, they reach the supreme, which is the supreme consciousness. So in Ekadashi, what we see is that Buddhi is held captive by ignorance and she's rescued by Viveka Shakti of Ekadashi Devi, and through steadfast practice, discipline and determination, eventually the goal is attained, which is realization of knowledge. The seer, the seer, seen and the act of seeing become one. Tat Tvamasi. Thus, Ekadashi is a bridge for modern science and spirituality. It is food for the soul. And so with that, I would like to thank you. I would like to thank Prabhakar Garu and Auntie, who has played beautiful music and is a very inspiring person. I'd like to thank Prasad Chalyam for hosting this, and for all of you who have been here for this wonderful, amazing person. I do believe I'm in the presence of a Siddha, and I'm so happy. Thank you so much for this talk. You put in so much effort and shared the fruit of your practices with us. I'm very grateful for this. Thank you.
So glad to hear such a amazing thing. I learned so many from your slides. So my gratitude for sharing your slides, and I'm going to request you to give them to me so that I can use it in my future education purposes also.
I'll do one more. I would like you to write a chapter for my book because my book is sold out. I'm producing a second edition.
With pleasure.
I would really be very, very humbled if you are able to do that.
We will continue to
yes, because this book is
aware of simple things that is available in their own home, so that
look
they
at
can
this.
access simple things.
Yeah, seasonal living, and it's got beautiful. Actually, it's locally produced. All the artists from Athens, the artists, the poets, writers, it's come out really beautiful. I think Prabhakar Garu has a copy of it, and for the second edition, if you can, I'm trying to get it on Amazon. I'm working on it, but if you write a chapter, I think we would really, it would be a great melding.
It will be my honor.
I would show the book to him.
I'll my honor to mail a copy to Dr. Chakalingam. Because of this talk, I learned so much. Because my husband is a gastroenterologist, by the way. So he knows all about this liver. And so my question actually was from what he had said. It's not original. So, I've always lived with this science and spirituality have to be kept separate all my life. And then suddenly to find, oh my God, it is possible. So wonderful. Thank you.
So nice.
Anand, Rita, really appreciate when you take all the good ideas, put them into books. We need more books. We need more information that is like visually. That book has such beautiful visuals. I can just tell by your, and Anand's book is also fantastic. I've read it and just, it's best 1 hour read in your life. So I'm so glad you're all taking extra effort to put them into books for all of us. So I really appreciate that effort for us. Nana, you want to make some concluding remarks, and then we'll take more questions.
Yeah, I think we can. So this is a special session for our Nada Veda Adhyayana Kendra and Waves, where we have a different topic and a very useful and fruitful topic. And so many questions have come up and so much of thought. And all the time, Rita and Anand and everybody is smiling, because smile is health. And that's why we have many characters in our scriptures also who always promote the smiling as a sign of happiness and health. For example, Rama is always described as Smita Purva Abhibhashanam. He always cuts a smile before he talks or before he sees anybody. So that smiling is one wonderful characteristic from Sri Ramachandra, who has been our ideal hero and model and all that. So I was just remembering. And moreover, Rita has started the Ekadasi programs, making many people to join to do some bhajan, some program, and also some discourse on the consciousness, that is Paramatma. So the Paramatma is there inside. Atma Guhayam Nihita Asya Janto. All Jantus are having the divine power inside, and Buddhi is there. So that Buddhi has got to be properly monitored. And for monitoring, hunger is the base. So truth is the important thing, and but that's a badha which is recurring now and then, but it has got to be attended to, but in a very rational way. And we have so many ways by which people will take it, and whatever food we consume must be quite reasonable, healthy, and nutritious. When we give value for the kind of food, definitely Chokkalingam's lecture today would be rewarding to all of us, because he has prescribed now 14 hours minimum fasting. So he says no eating during the night hours and all, because we see the crowds of youngsters joining on the payments to have that snacks and eating in our Bangalore and elsewhere, whole Jayanagar and everywhere we see it. No, we have to teach them when they happen to listen to talks like this, they will try to discipline themselves because they don't require elders. But still today, and fortunately, I think this today's lecture is recorded. It will be spread to all people, YouTube and all that. So people must become little wise by listening to the wonderful talk. And we are waiting for Dr. Chokkalingam Garu, his father. He just captivated people for 2 hours in our Kendra 2 years back when he came, and very interesting. So these are all the people who just really give us the value of food, value of hunger, value of the body, and the goal for having the body. Actually, this body is rented from the Paramatma. It is said, Mahata Punya Panyena Kritam Sariram. We have bargained with the God and given him the price of heavy punyam that we have acquired. And because of that only, we are blessed with a human body. Because human body is a wonderful ideal example for many things. Therefore, having got this kind of human body and wonderful hunger, and again, the next stages are also being fasting and then consciousness, we should all be benefited. Thank you very much, Dr. Anand and Rita and Kafur. Krishna, this Gopichand also is there, but somehow the internet problem, otherwise he would also contribute. He is an internal medicine doctor for the retired. He was in defense doing service to the all military people for 9-10 years, retired there, became commissioner of customs and sales, and then he retired. Now he became a student of our Kendra, very sincere and learning all suktas. So he's, and moreover he found out of, so we have whatever profession we take, we have, everybody has got a common hunger. So hunger is common. We should be very much judicious to manage the hunger and keep ourselves fit, that we are helpful to others and we are helpful to ours. Thank you, Dr. Anand and all people, to have given us a wonderful insight into the hunger system and hunger subject matter. And we expect some more time for some other topic, because you have given many footnotes. I think the footnotes must become a major talks, keynotes. Therefore, we hope in course of time, we would have more talks like yours with the help of Prasad. Prasad also spared a lot of time, and because he is very busy. But this is a very interesting opportunity for many of us to have had talk on the heart, hunger, heart means Jataragni. So Jataragni and Hrudayagni, they should be compatible so that the Arogya Agni will be quite active. So very happy. Thank you very much. I think we can conclude with the